Hey, good morning, folks. It's Pastor Stephen back again with another No Frills daily devotional. And today's topic is like oil and water. Now, this is a continuation from a previous episode I did titled All or Nothing, but I am on this kick right now of obedience and what obedience is meant to look like in our lives. And so in that previous episode, I was talking about how we tend to try to balance our life out where we have on one end we've got these God things that we do, but on the other end we've got these bad things that we still like to do, sin, right? And how we try to do enough good things, enough God things on this side to outweigh the sin things that we still like to do in our lives. And life is not meant to be a balancing act, right? That's religion, all right? And that's not what Jesus died to do. Jesus died to set you and I free so that we are called not to balance life out, but we're called to live according to the Spirit, because when we live according to the Spirit, it's meant to obliterate, like completely consume and destroy that sin nature. All right. And so this is kind of a continuation on this idea, but what got me thinking about this is a passage that I was reading in Jeremiah. And it's chapter 7, and I'm going to read to you verses 21 through 24 again. But this is God speaking. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Go ahead, add your burnt offerings to your other sacrifices, and eat the meat yourselves. And I explained what that means in that previous episode. For when I brought your forefathers out of Egypt and spoke to them, I didn't just give them commands about burnt offerings and sacrifices, but I gave them this command: obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Walk in all the ways I command you, that it may go well with you. But if you know the rest of the story, you did not listen or pay attention. Instead, your fathers and you guys followed the stubborn inclinations of their evil hearts. They went backward and not forward. And what I see in obedience and in being obedient to God is that as a path moving forward. But where does this idea of like oil and water come into play? It's because we've got this interesting habit where we tend to partner our spiritual life with our sinful life. And we gotta stop partnering Jesus with our sins, okay? Or the sin in our lives. What do you mean by that, Stephen? It's like oil and water. They don't mix. Jesus and God are holy. There is no sin found in them. And when Jesus died to transform our lives, to allow us to live according to our spiritual nature, sin is not meant to be part of that equation. But you and I are human. And so sin tends to try to work its way into that equation, okay? Which is why we've got to live according to the Spirit to obliterate that sin. More on that hopefully later on. But we tend to use Jesus. Think about it like this. Have you ever ate a bunch of junk food, but to try to counteract all the junk food that you consumed, you try to eat the amount of Tums necessary to counteract, or the amount of Pepto-Bismol to counteract the amount of junk food that you ate? My daughter Maddie, she's got an aversion to dairy. And so if she knows that she's going to eat a lot of ice cream, she has to take these dairy pills to help counteract all the ice cream that she's wanted to consume. And we got to stop using Jesus like that, where we use him like an antacid, where for all the other junk that we are still wanting to consume in our lives, where we know we're going to engage in this sin. And so we've got to do these Jesus things or these God things to try to balance it out. Again, they don't balance each other out. One is meant to consume the other. And Jesus isn't interested in being partnered with your sin or using him as like an add-on, or like a candy coating, right? Would you eat a candy coated turd, right? Probably not, right? Well, but the candy coating, it looks so delicious, but it's still a turd on the inside, right? And we use Christianity and religion as this candy coating over our turdy lives, all right? And we gotta stop trying to use him as some sort of candy coating, that this is this outer shell that I'm trying to create because I've still got this sin that I want to do in my life, but I want to balance things out and I want to be a Christian, so I've got to make sure that I do these other things to try to. We can't do it. We can't do it. They're oil and water. They are not meant to mix. One is meant to consume the other, all right? And it's this idea, okay? Jesus came, okay? Jesus came to set us free from sin. Jesus died to set us free from sin. And so he is not interested in dying so that you and I could feel good about ourselves, so that you and I could feel good about the sin that we still want to participate in our lives. He came to transform us. He came to set us free from that, not to make us feel good about ourselves. All right. And so I'm going to take you on a walk through Galatians because Paul does a great job of talking about this. All right. I'm going to start in Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. And Paul writes this. He says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." What's the slavery that Paul's referring to there? It's two things. It's religion and it's sin. Jesus didn't die so that we could try to engage and participate or keep participating in some weird balancing act where I've got God things over here and sin things over here. And so I've got to do enough God things to outweigh these. No, they aren't meant to mix. Stop partnering Jesus with sin. Okay. One is meant to consume the other, right? And so don't burden yourselves. Don't get looped into this slavery cycle of sin and religion. It's producing candy coated turds, and nobody wants to consume candy coated turds. All right. And so Paul keeps writing though. This is verse 13. "You, my brothers, were called to be free, but don't use your freedom for the wrong things," right? Don't use your freedom to indulge in the sinful nature, right? Jesus set you free. He didn't die so that you could feel good about yourselves. He died so that you could be transformed. I'm going to leave you with this. This is Galatians chapter 5, verses 16 through 17. "So I say, therefore, live by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of your sinful nature. For the sinful nature desires what is contrary to the Spirit." They're oil and water. They don't mix. And the Spirit, what is contrary to the sinful nature. They are in conflict with each other. And so we've got to stop partnering our Jesus freedom with sin nature. They aren't meant to mix. One is meant to consume the other. Hey, you guys, have an awesome, awesome day and be blessed.